Hello, my name is Socrates, and the concepts presented may offend you. If and when you come of age, you become eligible to participate in both regional and federal elections. You with so little experience living with only the understanding of what it means to learn how to learn and how to most specifically feed and clothe yourself. You may have developed a work ethic. You may not have. Where with these questions in mind, can one realistically hold you to the necessary methods of contemplation when looking at the options to see what is necessary to judge when making a decision that, if misappropriated, will condemn millions to differential circumstances, and the inability to re-elect for another, 4, possibly 8 years, without there being a committed census on the both academic credentials and the criminal history of those who are still viable to participate? No different than the young adult that still has to learn how to budget time to make class, learn the routines for laundry, still may not have social skills necessary to event select who they spend time with in a manner that both benefits themselves and their company. Though when you become critical of those who stand to benefit from the aspects of elections that defer the responsibility to not only the standing status of the former regime and their expectations, you then have to see where to even have the edge in any way to benefit the nation and their relationships with other nations. People who commit crimes will vote to defect three-strike rules from other parties. Men who like to harass women will stand on the party that has less grasp of the circumstances relevant to convict in what could be called a hearsay trial. The ignorant could be so culled by gullibility as to elect a candidate who offered them something that looks good from the outside, but still holds not only no value to that which their stances on making available will bring, but note none of the consequences of having been made available. I am of course referring to cannabis, in that the ability to spike GDP using the proceeds of cannabis is not only near impossible, but moot in their rational as the plant can be grown to completion in 2 months in any country on the globe. Along with that, the effect of the party who used this plant to lure young voters into electing them still stood to be negligent when the nation they were elected to lost a portion of its capacity to retain democracy, with the party members having been allowed to ripple the water from such a vantage point as to prevent a portion of possible agents, as philosophy defines, from being cultivated in the first place. In short, to deregulate agency is where one who retains the capacity to effect something is either displaced, mooted, or predisposed by the actions of a third party. To give them a good boy point, if there was no mistakes made by politicians, then where would the spectrum direct in the aftermath of their failures? Back to the subject at hand, where I see that it is not a contemplation by educators that are in a position to fulfill the adequate subject matter. The ability to teach it is not out of mind. Instead of 4 maths, substitute one of them as an elective and shift either economics or civics as a compulsory course in high school, which instead of taking up a few weeks, could stand in as a whole course, law being an important matter in society as well. Both the basics and the background of the subject would be more in tune with something a new voter would need to have in their pocket. Then, with simplicity out of mind, there comes the big question. Is there a realm where you could have both the ability to learn and the resources provided in order to take these precautions with each new voter in the registry? As to say that if your government has spent a lot of time and money on either making sure you can't successfully operate the resources you have when electing someone, or has not taken the precautions as to prevent a fault on their part in the exemption of incapable candidates being entered, as such with the people being not properly trained in the veneration of their few choices of party candidates, either having been constitutionally cultivated to have the expectations of those who do have the ability to draw the lines of where they do stand. Then those who are allowed to vote are not only a liability, but the system in place is noted as so fundamentally flawed that to say these people are even notable by comparison to the obvious standard of necessity to make these decisions is binding them to both failure and hardship by not having the resources provided by a system that could provide the basic educative tools to know that when anyone enters a voting booth, they can be trusted as a citizen, as one who obeys the law, as one who has the best interest of both the peoples in the nation and their allies, as one who can assert their opinion in both an organized and intelligible fashion, withstanding both scrutiny and retaining the ability to rationalize new information even when it contradicts their own opinion. Because without this, you will be left for better for worse in the hands of those with affiliations with Hell's Angels, the uneducated, the ignorant, the gullible, the racist, and most importantly, the untrained in charge of who makes your decision and your nation by proxy. These are reasons I ask that you at least review the videos I post when you want to culminate your ideas before approaching another person with a misconceived notion that opinions matter in elections when facts and character matter most. Taxation, legislation, and public expectation all revolve around your ability to rationalize when there are consequences for your actions when you approach the voting booth if you have no ability to grasp who the person behind the screen is, what the purpose of law is, and if your ability to stand on the right side of it being the foundation furthermore in the aftermath of elections, when the corrupt and sadistic have the same voting rights you do as a citizen, as so I would hope you be. If so, you listen to this. Take care. Happy elections, everyone. Thanks for listening. Click the like or subscribe buttons to support this channel.